back, fellow business enthusiasts. Today we're exploring a topic that affects businesses everywhere, the risk of fraud. Uku Tomikas, the CEO of Messente Communications, will uncover how companies unintentionally expose themselves to fraudsters. Learn strategies to shield your business from AI-powered personalized scams. Uku Tomikas is the CEO of Messente Communications. He advocates for honest entrepreneurship and is an expert in telecommunications with extensive knowledge of fraud, global markets, and business messaging. Hi, Uku. We're so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us in this new interview.
Thank you for having me. It's a great opportunity to be here.
Could you please share how does actually Messente help to contribute to enhance customer experience in the SMS industry?
So what we do is we take a very hands-on approach to working with our customers. So the majority of our portfolio is enterprise clients, actual retail clients using the service on a day-to-day basis, trying to enhance various forms of their customer communication. We've taken very much a security angle to everything that we do. So we work a lot on the anti-fraud side of things. So we try to enhance customer experience, not only from the perspective of working with a brand, but in our home country, for example, working with the Estonian Police's cybercrime division and the Estonian Banking Association to help crack down on scam messages. So not just fighting for delivering a good service, but also fighting to protect the brands and protect the end customers themselves as well, to keep the trust in the channel itself. And sometimes it might be something along the lines of, recommending going with platforms that might have a higher security potential, like using RCS because you get a tick mark, or using Viber because it's a verified account and they can see account details. Or we'll advise them on how to form your URL specifically to make sure that it looks as legitimate as possible and it's hard to copy. And then how to set up your content, how to communicate with clients, how to make a more engaging customer experience, but also more secure customer experience across the entire life cycle, protecting the brands, not just providing a service.
How does it actually work? What is the main, would you say, mistakes that businesses have for these crimes to happen, for these frauds to appear?
Some of the more common things that businesses do that ends up shooting themselves in the foot is not really cooperating with the operators as well to create at least some form of sender ID protection mechanism, like a registry or some form of, not specifically whitelisting, but that the operator knows that there are only one or two channels where that particular sender name could ever come in from. So doing advocacy work with the operators as well, and actually talking to them, creating systems of trying to do these things. But on the other hand, it might be very small, simple things as well. Changing your sender name too often if you want to send a lot of different messages. So you'll have a bank name maintenance, bank name account, bank name, et cetera, et cetera. You're using 16 different sender names. And now all of a sudden that opens the door up for the actual criminals themselves as well to be able to use multiple variations of the same sender ID and actually create very similar looking content. Or sometimes it's, you want to save some character space, you'll use Bitly. But scammers also use things like Bitly and tiny URL. The less branded and less brand knowledgeable your content and the visual appearance of that content is, the more susceptible you are as a business to scam. So if you're only using your sender ID, only branded links, making sure that they are fully only the same thing all the time. It's very concrete, very well understandable. And you also communicate that this is only the form that you will ever see. Then your clients are much less susceptible to these types of attacks. And you have a much better possibility of people not going down that lane. So when we started this project with the banks and the operators about a year ago, the actual criminals were using all of the bank sender IDs. They were using every sender ID they specifically wanted. The content looked practically identical. And over the course of pushing and filtering and talking to operators and creating new systems and working on the wholesale market with partners as well, and educating partners, not just the actual clients themselves, but educating the major partners we work with on, hey, this shouldn't be something you're going to be sending, filter this out. Then through that, it went from very legitimate, same looking content to more generic sender names, to more generic things used, to less valid looking content, valid looking URLs. It got more suspicious. We're of course always fighting with, the rise of AI. If we look from 2022 to now, the amount of scam has tripled in its actual volume, but the quality of it is the worst thing for me as well. We talk about using ChatGPT about, making better LinkedIn posts or blog posts or better website copy or whatever. Scammers are using it to create personalized scam. We've seen people get personalized scam that their first name is used within the content and their first name is used within the URL. There are very few things that create more trust than your own personal details being utilized within that scam. Because how could anybody else know those things? But these days they can, through website scrubbing, through getting your personal information from online, and then utilizing AI in combination with things to create very engaging scams. So it's got always sort of like an uphill battle trying to bring these things in, but the more awareness you create, the more you actually advise businesses in creating this homogeneous, well-built, well-trusted system of communicating with their clients, the better the results are. And that way the channel also remains a trusted one, because it is very much trusted. And the amount of scam compared to email is still minuscule, but it has a high potential damage rate. So that's why it's very, very important to be on top of these things as well.
With this rise of AI, what kind of mechanisms do you use to make sure that businesses are actually protected?
It's very, very difficult, because if you're looking at things becoming very personalized, then really the only way that you can create a more effective way of building into this is sharing a lot of information. So this is sharing information between banks, between different financial service providers, logistics companies, seeing the new patterns, the new examples of scam popping up, and then everybody taking steps to immediately ban that specific sender ID, that specific URL profile, that specific content profile. So what we get to kind of is this, one is major collaboration between all entities within a singular market to create this sort of homogeneous approach to fighting this. This, of course, relies on businesses understanding that this needs to be done. Aggregators as well. Aggregators and aggregators need to work together. So it's competitor versus competitor, but look at the long game. Yes, maybe you're needing to work with people or give them information that you don't want to share, right? Because it's a competitor business. But which would you prefer? Maybe losing an account versus losing your business in value. That's what we're playing here for. It's the long game versus the short game. And there's too much short-term thinking behind a lot of decisions from this industry as well. So that's one of the key things. And then, of course, narrowing down the type or the sort of spread or how loose businesses play with it. Because if they're always using specific templates and making minor adjustments, but always keeping it branded, always keeping it true, all the best practices, then there is a better opportunity to filter everything else out. If it doesn't match this criteria, their set criteria that we know that they're going to use, then it's easier to then get rid of everything else that looks suspicious or doesn't exactly match the criteria necessary. So it's this sort of mix between communication and then creating technical standards to be able to be as effective in finding and combating scam as possible. And speed, being fast. The faster the communication, the more quickly the examples, the domains, everything else gets shared between the entities, the faster everybody's able to block it and actually take these things down. Speed is very, very much essential. And if we look at the global world of customer engagement, speed is always the most essential thing. That is why SMS is still so widely used. Nothing gives you the speed and the reach simultaneously that business messaging in its form currently does. And now you want to upgrade the trust level as well. So you would be able to have speed, reach, and trust simultaneously, which gives you one of the most effective channels, both from the position of cost per click is actually very low, but also from the position of conversion, click-through rates, everything else is super good tool.
Fascinating discussion, right? Next time, Uku guides us through post-road action steps and his time management expertise. Stay tuned.